The red warning lights flashed across the control room as Commander Junho Kim stared at the screens in front of him. Mars Defense Station Alpha had been quiet for months, but now the sensors screamed with activity. Something big was coming. From beyond Neptune. "Sir, we're getting massive energy readings," said Operator Hansol. His voice shook as numbers rolled across his screen. 3,000 ships, maybe more. Junho felt his stomach drop. 3,000 ships meant only one thing: invasion. He had trained for this moment his whole life, but seeing it happen felt like a nightmare coming true. "Send the alert to Earth immediately," he ordered. "Code Red, full invasion fleet detected. Light years." Away from Mars, Captain Hai-Jin Park was enjoying her morning coffee aboard the Earth defense cruiser Soul's Pride when the emergency signal arrived. The bridge erupted in activity as her crew scrambled to their stations. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from the incoming fleet," Communications Officer Bora reported. "They want to speak with Earth's leaders." "Put it through," Ye-Jin said, setting down her coffee cup. The main screen flickered to life, showing a creature that made her blood run cold. The alien was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like old leather. Its eyes were black and cold, sitting in a skull that seemed too large for its body. When it spoke, its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I am Admiral Thexmore of the Vorthak Empire," the creature announced. "We have come to claim your world. You have one solar day to surrender all military forces and prepare for occupation. Resist, and we will burn your planet to ash." The screen changed to show recordings of other worlds. Hai-Jin watched in horror as alien ships destroyed entire cities with beams of green light. Millions of beings died in seconds. 17 different planets, 17 civilizations wiped out. "We have conquered all who stood before us," Thexmore continued. "Your species is young and weak. Submit now, and some of you may live to serve the Empire." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. Hai-Jin looked at her crew's frightened faces and felt anger rise in her chest. These aliens thought humans were easy prey. They had no idea what they were walking into. Dr. Min-Ho Lee was working late in his laboratory on Luna Research Station when the invasion alert reached him. Most people would have panicked, but Min-Ho smiled as he looked at his computer screens. He had been waiting for this day for 20 years. "Computer, begin Analysis Protocol 7, he said calmly. "Cross-reference all incoming ship signatures with our database." The computer worked quickly, processing the energy readings from the alien fleet. Min-Ho watched the results with growing excitement. The Vorthak ships used quantum core technology. Just like his models predicted, their shields operated on frequency patterns that were completely vulnerable to humanity's newest weapons. "Perfect," Min-Ho whispered. "They have no idea what's coming." He opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "This is Dr. Lee on Luna Station. I've analyzed the alien technology. Execute Protocol Cerberus immediately. Repeat, execute Protocol Cerberus." Back on Mars, Junho received orders that made him smile for the first time since the aliens arrived. The message was simple: hold position, watch and wait. The trap is ready. For 70 years, ever since the failed attack on Titan Colony, humanity had been preparing for this moment. What looked like simple mining stations throughout the asteroid belt were actually hidden weapons platforms. Research outposts contained enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. Even the trade routes between planets had been carefully planned as killing zones. The Vorthak thought they were invading a young, weak species. They had no idea they were flying into the most advanced defense network ever created. Admiral Thexmore stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the primitive solar system grow larger on his screens. This would be an easy conquest, just like all the others. The humans had only been in space for a few hundred years. Their technology was crude, their military scattered across multiple worlds. "Admiral, we're detecting some defensive positions. "Around the outer planets," reported his tactical officer. "Nothing significant. A few orbital platforms, some patrol ships." "As expected," Thexmore replied. "These creatures probably think they can hide behind their gas giants. Begin the approach to their homeworld. We'll sweep aside their defenses and land troops within 2 days." What the Vorthak didn't know was that every human ship they detected was exactly where Earth wanted them to be. The patrol ships were actually advanced scouts, gathering information about alien weapons and tactics. The defensive positions were decoys, designed to make the Vorthak feel confident about their approach. Captain Hyejin Park received her final orders as the alien fleet passed Jupiter. "All ships, begin Phase 1 withdrawal. Make it look like we're scared and running for Mars." Her crew looked confused, but Hyejin trusted Earth Command completely. "You heard the orders. Set course for Mars. Maximum speed. Make sure they can track us." The Soul's Pride and dozens of other human ships began what looked like a panicked retreat toward Mars. Behind them, the massive Vorthak fleet followed eagerly, like predators chasing wounded prey. On Luna Station, Dr. Minho Lee watched. The alien ships moved through space exactly as his computer models predicted. Every Vorthak vessel was following the carefully planned route, moving deeper into humanity's trap with each passing hour. "Computer, activate all hidden platforms in sectors 7 through 12, he ordered. "Begin final weapon calibration." Throughout the asteroid belt, thousands of hidden weapons came online. What had looked like simple mining equipment transformed into massive railguns. Research stations opened to reveal missile batteries that could destroy planets. Sensor networks that the aliens had ignored suddenly became targeting systems with perfect accuracy. Commander Junho Kim watched from Mars as the Vorthak fleet approached the inner solar system. They moved in perfect formation, confident and unstoppable. In just a few hours, they would learn the truth about humanity. "Sir," Operator Han Sol said quietly, "Earth Command is asking if you're ready." Junho looked at the screens showing 3,000 alien ships coming to destroy his world. He thought about the millions of humans living on Earth, Mars, and the colonies. He thought about the 17 civilizations the Vorthak had already destroyed. "Tell Earth Command we're ready," he said. "Let's show these aliens what happens when they threaten humanity." The trap was set. The prey was coming. And soon, the Vorthak Empire would learn that they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral So Young Choi walked through the corridors of humanity's most secret base. The Mariana Command Center had been built in complete darkness, hidden from every satellite and sensor in the solar system. Today, it would reveal its true purpose. "Admiral, all stations report ready," said Commander Ray. "Cerberus Protocol is active and waiting for your orders." So Young looked at the massive display showing the solar system. Red dots marked the approaching Vorthak fleet, while green dots showed humanity's real defensive network. The aliens had no idea what they were flying into. "Activate Phase 1, she ordered. "Let's show them what humans can really do." Across the asteroid belt, thousands of hidden weapons platforms came online. For decades, they had looked like simple mining stations and research outposts. Now their true nature was revealed. Massive. Railguns emerged from fake ore processors. Missile batteries unfolded from what had seemed like solar panel arrays. Sensor dishes that had been scanning for asteroids now locked onto alien ships. Lieutenant Commander Taimin Jung was already in space, leading his reconnaissance squadron toward the outer edge of the Vorthak fleet. His ship, the Busan Lightning, was small and fast, designed for hit-and-run attacks. "Remember, we're not trying to win a big battle," Taimin told his pilots over the radio. "We just need to test their defenses and learn how they fight." The squadron split up and approached 3 different Vorthak scout ships. Taimin chose the largest one, a cruiser that was scanning the asteroid belt for human forces. He waited until he was close enough to see the alien ship's details, then struck. His missiles hit the Vorthak shields in a pattern Dr. Lee had designed specifically to overload their defensive systems. The alien ship's shields flickered and failed, and Tae-min's follow-up attack punched straight through their armor. "Target destroyed," he reported. "Their shields can't handle rapid frequency changes." Around him, his other pilots were having similar success. The Vorthak ships were powerful, but they couldn't match human pilots who had grown up in Earth's complex gravity well. Every human pilot had trained in three-dimensional combat since childhood, learning to think in ways that aliens from simple worlds couldn't understand. "They're too slow," reported pilot Yeon Woo. "Their reaction time is terrible. It's like fighting someone underwater." The hit-and-run attacks continued for hours. Each time, human ships would appear from nowhere, destroy a Vorthak vessel, and disappear before the aliens could respond. The Vorthak formation began to spread out, trying to protect themselves from an enemy they couldn't see coming. On Ceres Station, engineer Nari Bay was listening to alien communications with growing excitement. Her team had been trying to break Vorthak codes for months, and now they had perfect samples to work with. "Their command structure is completely rigid," she explained to her team. "Every order has to go up the chain of command and back down. They can't adapt to new situations without permission from their admiral." This was humanity's greatest advantage. Human military doctrine had been built around flexibility and quick thinking. Every soldier, from private to general, was trained to make decisions and adapt to changing situations. The Vorthak, on the other hand, followed ancient patterns that had worked against other species but were useless against human creativity. "Look at this," said analyst Kyung-ho, pointing at his screen. "They're sending the same tactical formations they used against the Zelkari Empire 50 years ago. They never changed their methods." Nari smiled as she watched the alien communication patterns. "They're about to learn why that's a bad idea." Admiral Thexmore was becoming frustrated as more scout ships disappeared. The humans were striking from the shadows like cowards, refusing to fight honorably in open battle. But what really bothered him was how easily the human ships avoided his forces. "How are they moving so quickly?" he demanded from his tactical officer. "Their ships should be slower than ours." The tactical officer checked his readings again. "Admiral, their acceleration patterns are unlike anything in our database. They're pulling maneuvers that should be impossible for organic life forms." What the Vorthak didn't understand was that humans had evolved on a planet with higher gravity and more complex environmental challenges than most species. Every human pilot could handle acceleration forces that would kill aliens from easier worlds. Their brains had developed to process three-dimensional movement in ways that gave them a massive advantage in space combat. Captain Hyojin Park was leading the fake retreat toward Mars when she received new orders. "All ships, prepare for harassment. Protocol. Make them think we're desperate and running scared." Her ship and dozens of others began what looked like panicked attacks on the Vorthak advance fleet. They would charge in, fire a few shots, then run away as if their weapons had no effect. To the aliens, it looked like humans were throwing everything they had in a useless last stand. But every desperate attack was carefully planned. Human weapons were designed to look primitive while actually gathering detailed information about Vorthak ship designs. Every shot mapped alien armor thickness, shield frequencies, and weak points that would be used later. "They're taking the bait perfectly," Hyojin reported to Earth Command. "The whole fleet is following us toward Mars just like we planned." Dr. Min-Ho Lee watched the data flowing in from every engagement. His computers were analyzing Vorthak technology faster than the aliens could possibly imagine. Within hours, humanity had learned more about their enemies than the Vorthak had learned about 17 previous civilizations. Their weapons use plasma containment fields that are vulnerable to quantum disruption, he reported to Admiral So-Young Choi. Their armor is strong against energy weapons but weak against kinetic impact, and their ships are designed for fighting in formations, not individual combat. This information flowed instantly to every human ship and weapons platform in the solar system. Unlike the Vorthak's rigid command structure, human forces could adapt their tactics in real time based on new intelligence. Lieutenant Commander Tae-min Jung received the updates and immediately changed his attack patterns. Instead of trying to overwhelm alien shields with energy weapons, his squadron switched to kinetic penetrators that punched straight through Vorthak armor. "Much better," he reported as another alien scout ship exploded. "Their armor is like paper, against solid projectiles." The Vorthak fleet was now deep in the asteroid belt, following what they thought was a beaten human force toward Mars. Admiral Thexmore was confident that victory was close. The human ships were clearly outmatched, and their planet would fall within days. He had no idea that he was leading his entire fleet into the most sophisticated trap ever created. Every asteroid they passed contained hidden sensors. Every piece of space debris might be a disguised weapon. The humans weren't retreating in panic. They were leading the Vorthak exactly where they wanted them to go. Commander Junho Kim watched from Mars as the alien fleet approached the inner solar system. Soon, the real battle would begin. The Vorthak thought they were conquering a young, weak species. They were about to discover that humanity had been preparing for this moment for 70 years. "Sir," Operator Hansol said quietly, "Earth Command wants to know if Mars defense is ready for Phase 2. Junho looked at the screens showing 3,000 Vorthak ships moving confidently through space. Each alien vessel contained thousands of soldiers who had conquered other worlds. But none of them understood what they were walking into. "Tell Earth Command that Mars is ready," he replied. "It's time to spring the trap." General Do-hyun Song stood in the command center beneath Seoul, watching the holographic display that showed the entire solar system. The Vorthak fleet was exactly where humanity wanted them, deep in the asteroid belt, following the human ships that appeared to be running in fear. "All units, this is command," Do-hyun spoke into his headset. "Execute Phase 2. Spring the trap." Throughout the asteroid belt, the greatest deception in human history was about to be revealed. For 70 years, humanity had been building what looked like mining stations and research outposts. The Vorthak had scanned them and dismissed them as harmless civilian structures. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Captain Jin Woo Han commanded the decoy fleet that had been leading the aliens deeper into the trap. His ship, the Incheon Defender, was one of 50 vessels that had been pretending to run in panic for the past 6 hours. "All ships, begin combat turn," Jin Woo ordered. "Stop running and start fighting." The human fleet suddenly stopped retreating and spun around to face the Vorthak forces. At the same moment, every mining station in the asteroid belt revealed its true nature. Fake ore processors split open to show massive railgun batteries. Research stations unfolded like flowers, exposing missile launchers that had been hidden for decades. Admiral Thexmore watched in shock as the space around his fleet suddenly filled with weapons. "What is this?" he demanded. "Where did these weapons come from?" His tactical officer's voice shook as he read the sensor displays. "Admiral, we're detecting over 10,000 weapon platforms. They were hidden inside civilian structures. It's impossible." But it wasn't impossible. It was the result of decades of careful planning by a species that understood war better than the Vorthak had ever imagined. Every mining station had been built with hidden compartments. Every research outpost contained weapons that could destroy starships. Even the communication relays were actually targeting systems. The first barrage hit the Vorthak fleet like a hammer. Thousands of railgun rounds traveled at incredible speed, punching through alien shields as if they didn't exist. The kinetic energy was so intense that entire Vorthak ships simply vanished in flashes of light. "Shields failing!" screamed a Vorthak engineer on Admiral Thexmore's flagship. "They're using solid projectiles at near light speed. Our shields can't stop them." Dr. Yoo-Jin Kang sat in the series command center, coordinating the quantum phase disruption network. This was humanity's secret weapon, a technology that could interfere with the quantum fields that powered Vorthak ships. All disruption platforms, fire on my mark, she said calmly. Target their power cores. Invisible waves of quantum energy, swept through space, passing through Vorthak shields and armor as if they weren't there. The alien ships' power systems began to fail as their quantum cores became unstable. Ships that had been firing powerful energy weapons suddenly went dark and dead. "Power core overload," a Vorthak engineer shouted. "The humans are attacking our quantum fields directly. How is this possible?" It was possible because humanity had studied quantum physics longer than the Vorthak had existed as a spacefaring species. While the aliens had conquered other worlds using brute force, humans had been perfecting technologies that the Vorthak couldn't even understand. The battle lasted only 20 minutes, but it felt like hours to the surviving Vorthak crews. 800 ships, over a quarter of their invasion fleet, were destroyed before they could even return fire effectively. The space around them was filled with debris and the expanding clouds of gas that had once been starships. "Impossible," Admiral Thexmore whispered as he watched his fleet being torn apart. "They're primitives. They've only been in space for a few centuries. How can they have weapons like this?" Captain Jinwoo Han led his ships in close-range attacks on the confused Vorthak vessels. The aliens were trying to regroup, but their rigid command structure couldn't adapt quickly enough to the chaos around them. "Focus fire on their command ships," Jinwoo ordered. "Cut off their communications." Human ships moved like wolves attacking a herd, striking weak points and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Every human pilot had trained for this kind of combat their entire lives. They knew how to think in 3 dimensions, how to use asteroids for cover, and how to coordinate attacks without formal orders. The Vorthak, on the other hand, had always relied on overwhelming firepower and simple tactics. Their ships were designed to fight in straight lines against enemies who would face them directly. They had no experience with human-style warfare that used deception, flexibility, and superior technology. Lieutenant Commander Taemin Jung's reconnaissance squadron had become an attack force, striking Vorthak ships that were trying to escape the trap. His pilots moved through the asteroid field like they had been born in space, using every rock and debris field to hide from alien sensors. "Target the ships trying to run," Taemin ordered. "Don't let any of them escape to warn their homeworld." His squadron destroyed 17 Vorthak ships in 15 minutes, appearing from behind asteroids to launch surprise attacks before vanishing again. The aliens couldn't track human ships that moved so unpredictably and used the environment to their advantage. On his flagship, Admiral Thexmore was trying to understand what had happened to his invincible fleet. Half of his ships were either destroyed or disabled. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a weapon, and they had done it without the Vorthak noticing anything unusual. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet," his communications officer reported. "Put it through," Thexmore ordered, hoping to negotiate some kind of surrender. Captain Jinwoo Han's face appeared on the Vorthak command screen. He was smiling, and his eyes were cold. "Admiral Thexmore, this is Captain Han of the Earth Defense Force. We want to thank you for coming to our solar system." "Thank us?" Thexmore was confused. "Why would you thank us?" "Because you've given us the perfect opportunity to test our new weapons," Jinwoo replied. "We've been building this defense network for 70 years, waiting for someone like you to come and try to conquer us. You've helped us prove that it works perfectly." The transmission ended, and Admiral Thexmore realized the horrible truth. The humans hadn't been caught by surprise. They had been waiting for this invasion. Everything that had happened was planned, from the fake retreat to the hidden weapons platforms. The Vorthak hadn't been conquering a primitive species. They had been walking into a trap built by military geniuses. Dr. Eugene Kang watched the battle results with satisfaction. The quantum disruption network had worked exactly as designed, disabling alien ships without causing unnecessary destruction. Humanity preferred to win through superior technology and tactics rather than simple brutality. "All platforms, prepare for Phase 3, she announced. "Target the remaining ships and prepare for the final assault." General Do-hyun Song looked at the holographic display and saw that the trap had worked perfectly. The Vorthak fleet was broken and scattered, with less than 2,000 ships still operational. Most of those were damaged and trying to retreat toward the outer solar system. "Begin pursuit operations," he ordered. "Don't let any of them escape." The greatest space battle in human history was far from over. The Vorthak still had enough ships to destroy most civilizations, but they were no longer fighting a weak, primitive species. They were fighting humanity, a species that had turned warfare into a science and had prepared for this moment for decades. Commander Jun-ho Kim watched from Mars as human ships chased the retreating Vorthak fleet through the asteroid belt. The aliens who had come to conquer Earth were now running for their lives, and they still had no idea how much worse things were about to get. The trap had been sprung, but the hunt was just beginning. Squadron leader Yoonji Lim led her attack wing toward what the Vorthak thought was a civilian habitat orbiting Jupiter. The massive structure had been broadcasting civilian communications for decades, appearing to be nothing more than a peaceful research station studying the gas giant's storms. "All wings, prepare for revelation protocol," Yoonji announced to her pilots. "Show these aliens what our civilian stations can really do." The habitat suddenly split open like a blooming flower. Hidden inside the civilian facade was one of humanity's most powerful weapons platforms, a fortress armed with enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. Similar transformations were happening throughout the solar system as peaceful-looking stations revealed their true military nature. "Impossible," gasped a Vorthak sensor operator as he watched his screens. "That civilian station just deployed. Battleship-class weapons. How many of these hidden fortresses do they have?" The answer was simple. All of them. Every human habitat, every mining colony, every research station had been built with hidden military capabilities. For 70 years, humanity had been constructing what looked like a peaceful civilian space infrastructure while actually building the most advanced defense network in galactic history. Commander Ki-young Park was aboard the psychological warfare, ship's sole mind, broadcasting directly to the Vorthak fleet on all frequencies. What she was transmitting was designed to break alien morale and spread fear through their ranks. "Attention Vorthak forces," Ki-young announced in perfect Vorthak language. "We are broadcasting the tactical analysis of your failures for your educational benefit." The screens throughout the alien fleet suddenly filled with detailed breakdowns of every mistake they had made. Human computers had analyzed every Vorthak ship movement, every tactical decision, and every weakness in their technology. The analysis was so complete that it showed things the aliens didn't even know about their own ships. "Your ship class designation, Heavy Cruiser VX-7, has armor weakness at coordinates 478923. The broadcast continued. "Your shields operate on frequency 2.7 terahertz, which can be disrupted by our quantum field generators. Your crew's reaction time averages 3.2 seconds, which is 2.8 seconds slower than human standard." Admiral Thexmore watched in horror as the humans displayed perfect knowledge of Vorthak technology and biology. Information that should have taken years to gather was being broadcast as if the humans had been studying the Vorthak Empire for decades. "How do they know this?" he demanded from his science officer. "How can they know our shield frequencies, our armor specifications, our biological reaction times?" The science officer's hands shook as he checked his instruments. "Admiral, they've learned everything about us in just 6 hours of combat. Their analysis capabilities are beyond anything in our database. This was humanity's most terrifying advantage. Other species learned slowly, gathering information over years or decades. Humans learned at incredible speed, using artificial intelligence and advanced computing to analyze enemies faster than those enemies could adapt. Every Vorthak ship destroyed had provided data. Every communication intercepted had revealed secrets. Every tactical move had been studied and countered. Dr. Seok-jin Yoon was coordinating the human learning network from his laboratory on Luna Station. Banks of quantum computers were processing every piece of information gathered from the battle, turning raw data into tactical advantages faster than the Vorthak could believe. "Analysis complete," he announced to the military command. "We now understand their entire technological base. All countermeasures are ready for deployment." In just hours, humanity had completely decoded technology that the Vorthak had developed over thousands of years. Human science had always been based on rapid learning and adaptation. Other species might take centuries to develop new weapons. Humans could design, build, and deploy new technologies in days. "Sir," his assistant Jin'e said excitedly, "our computers have found 17 different ways to improve their weapons. Systems. Should we broadcast the improvements to them?" Dr. Yoon smiled coldly. "No, let them keep using inferior technology. It makes them easier to defeat." The pursuit through the asteroid belt had become a running battle, with human ships hunting down Vorthak vessels like predators chasing prey. Lieutenant Commander Taemin Jung's squadron had destroyed 43 alien ships without losing a single pilot. "They can't match our speed or maneuverability," Taemin reported to command. "Their ships are designed for fighting other slow, predictable enemies. They have no experience with pilots who grew up in Earth's gravity well." Every human pilot had an advantage that the Vorthak couldn't understand. Growing up on a high-gravity world with complex weather patterns and dangerous environments had created humans who could think in 3 dimensions and react to changing situations faster than aliens from easier worlds. "Target their command ships," Taemin ordered his squadron. "Cut off their coordination and force them to fight as individuals." Admiral Thexmore was learning the hard way that Vorthak tactics were useless against human warfare. His fleet had been designed to fight enemies who would meet them in honorable battle, using predictable tactics and similar technology. Humans fought like nothing in the Vorthak database. "They attack from impossible angles," his tactical officer reported. "They use asteroids for cover. They coordinate without centralized command. They adapt their tactics every few minutes. It's like fighting chaos itself." The admiral tried to reorganize his remaining ships into defensive formations, but the humans anticipated every move. Their ships would appear from behind debris fields, launch devastating attacks, and disappear before the Vorthak could respond. "Admiral," his communications officer said urgently, "we're receiving another human broadcast." Captain Hai-Jin Park's face appeared on the Vorthak command screens. She was standing on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, and behind her the crew was calmly working at their stations as if the battle was routine. "Admiral Thexmore," Hyejin said politely, "we wanted to inform you that our analysis of your empire is now complete. We know the location of your homeworld, your colony systems, and your military bases. We also know that your ships carry detailed star charts of all Vorthak territory." The admiral felt cold fear creep up his spine. "That's impossible. Our navigation computers are secured by quantum encryption." Hyejin smiled. "Your quantum encryption was broken by our computers in approximately 4 minutes. We now have complete maps of your empire, including the locations of your shipyards, your civilian populations, and your government centers." The transmission ended, and Admiral Thexmore realized that the humans weren't just defending themselves. They were gathering intelligence for a counterattack. These weren't frightened primitives hoping to survive an invasion. They were military strategists preparing to eliminate a threat permanently. Commander Kai Young Park continued her psychological warfare broadcasts, but now she was transmitting something even more terrifying than tactical analysis. The humans were broadcasting their own capabilities, showing the Vorthak exactly how outmatched they were. "Our total military strength includes 15,000 hidden weapons platforms, 800 advanced warships, and 3 million trained pilots," the broadcast announced. "Our defensive network extends throughout the solar system and includes weapons that you have never encountered. Your fleet of 3,000 ships represents approximately 12% of our total firepower." Numbers were devastating to Vorthak morale. They had brought what they thought was an overwhelming force, only to discover that humanity could have destroyed them 5 times over. The invasion fleet that had conquered 17 civilizations was barely large enough to be considered a minor threat by human standards. Squadron leader Yunji Lim was leading her wing in attacks on Vorthak ships trying to retreat toward the outer system. The aliens were panicking, abandoning their formations and trying to escape as individuals. This made them even easier targets for human pilots who specialized in hunting scattered enemies. "They're breaking up completely," she reported to command. "No coordination, no tactics, just running in random directions." The mighty Vorthak Empire, which had seemed invincible just hours before, was now reduced to scattered groups of ships fleeing in terror. Their rigid command structure had collapsed under the pressure of fighting an enemy that didn't follow any of the rules they understood. Dr. Yoon watched the battle data flowing into his computers and began preparing humanity's next surprise. "Begin Phase 4 preparation," he ordered his team. "Deploy the interdiction network." Soon, the Vorthak would discover that humans had prepared for every possibility, including the chance that surviving enemies might try to escape and warn others. The solar system was about to become a prison from which no alien ship would ever leave. Admiral Thexmore looked at his remaining fleet, less than half of what he had started with, and made a desperate decision. "All ships, prepare for emergency. Jump to hyperspace. We must retreat and warn the homeworld." He had no idea that humanity had already planned for this possibility, too. General Wu Jin-Quan stood in the Deep Space Command Center buried beneath the Sahara Desert, watching as the surviving Vorthak ships attempted to flee toward the edge of the solar system. Less than 400 alien vessels remained operational, and their crews were desperate to escape and warn their empire about humanity's true capabilities. "Sir, the Vorthak fleet is attempting to reach jump distance," reported Commander Su-Jin. "They're trying to activate their faster-than-light drives." Wu Jin smiled coldly. "Activate the Exodus gates. Show them that we planned for this possibility too." Throughout the outer solar system, massive devices that had been disguised as deep space research stations suddenly powered up. The Exodus gates were humanity's final surprise, quantum interdiction fields that could prevent faster-than-light travel within the entire solar system. Admiral Thexmore watched in growing panic as his ship's navigation computer displayed error messages he had never seen before. "Engineering report, why can't we jump to hyperspace?" His chief engineer's voice was filled with terror. "Admiral, something is interfering with our quantum drive. The space around us has been changed somehow. Hyperspace entry is impossible." "What do you mean impossible?" Thexmore demanded. "Sir, it's like the humans have built a cage around their entire star system. Nothing can enter or leave hyperspace within their territory. This was humanity's most advanced technology, developed in secret over decades of research. While other species used faster-than-light travel to move between stars, only humans had learned how to prevent it. The entire solar system had become a trap from which no enemy could escape. Captain Hyosung Cho led the boarding operations against disabled Vorthak ships. His Marines were specially trained for close-quarters combat in space, wearing powered armor that made them faster and stronger than any alien warrior. "Remember, we want prisoners and intact ships," Hyosung told his assault teams. "Intelligence needs to know everything about their empire." The Marines cut through Vorthak hulls with plasma torches and stormed into alien ships. What they found inside shocked even the experienced soldiers. The Vorthak were tall and thin, adapted to low-gravity worlds. In Earth normal gravity, they could barely move, let alone fight. "They're incredibly weak," reported Sergeant Boram over the radio. "It's like fighting children. Their bones are too fragile for real combat." This revealed another advantage humans had never fully understood. Growing up on a high-gravity world with dangerous predators had made humans incredibly strong compared to most galactic species. A human soldier in powered armor was like a tank to aliens who had evolved on easier worlds. The boarding actions were devastating for Vorthak morale. These were warriors who had conquered 17 civilizations, but they couldn't even stand up against human soldiers. Every captured ship provided more intelligence about alien technology and the location of their colonies. Lieutenant Subin Jang led one of the assault teams that captured a Vorthak command ship. Inside, they found navigation computers containing detailed maps of the entire Vorthak Empire, including the locations of their homeworld and all their military bases. "Sir, you need to see this," Subin reported to Captain Cho. "They have star charts for over 100 systems. We now know where every Vorthak world is located." The intelligence windfall was incredible. In just one day of fighting, humanity had learned more about galactic civilization than they had discovered in decades of exploration. The Vorthak had unknowingly brought detailed maps of their entire empire directly to Earth. Admiral Thexmore made one final desperate attempt to break through the human blockade. He gathered his remaining ships into a tight formation and aimed them directly at Mars, hoping to punch through to Earth and complete his mission. "All ships, maximum speed toward the inner system," he ordered. "If we cannot escape, we will at least destroy their homeworld." Commander Junho Kim watched from Mars Defense Station Alpha as the broken Vorthak fleet made its last charge. 400 ships were still enough to destroy most civilizations, but they were no longer fighting most civilizations. They were fighting humanity. "All defense platforms prepare for final engagement," Junho announced. "Show them what Mars defense can really do." Mars had always been humanity's fortress world, but the Vorthak had no idea how heavily armed it really was. What looked like civilian colonies were actually massive weapons installations. Even the famous red dust storms were artificial, created by defensive systems that could hide entire fleets. The planet's surface suddenly erupted with weapons fire. Hundreds of concealed railgun batteries opened fire simultaneously, sending streams of projectiles toward the approaching alien fleet. The space around Mars filled with defensive mines, missile swarms, and energy weapons that had been hidden in orbital stations. "Impossible," Admiral Thexmore whispered, as his sensors detected the true scope of Mars's defenses. An entire planet turned into a weapons platform. The final battle lasted only minutes. The surviving Vorthak ships were torn apart by defensive fire so intense that some vessels simply vaporized from the energy impact. Admiral Thexmore's flagship was one of the last to die, its hull cracking apart under the pressure of multiple railgun hits. Dr. Minho Lee watched from Luna Station as the last Vorthak ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The entire invasion fleet, 3,000 ships carrying millions of alien soldiers, had been completely destroyed without a single enemy vessel reaching Earth. "Analysis complete," he announced to Earth Command. "Zero surviving Vorthak ships. Zero successful landings on any human world. Total enemy casualties, 100%. In the command center beneath Seoul, General Do Hyun Song looked at the tactical display showing the debris fields where the alien fleet had been destroyed. Scattered throughout the solar system were the remains of ships that had conquered 17 civilizations. "Sir," Commander Ray said quietly, "Earth Command is asking for your assessment of the operation." Do Hyun thought about the battle that had just ended. Humanity had faced its first major alien invasion and had won so completely that no enemy had even reached the inner planets. The defense network built over 70 years had worked perfectly. "Tell Earth Command that Operation Cerberus was successful beyond all projections," he said. "The alien threat has been eliminated, and we now have complete intelligence on their empire." But General Do Hyun Song knew that this was just the beginning. The Vorthak Empire still existed, and they would eventually notice that their invasion fleet had disappeared. When that happened, they might send an even larger force to investigate. Captain Hyo-sung Cho was examining the captured alien technology when he made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden in the Vorthak computer systems were detailed records. of all the civilizations they had conquered, including the locations of any survivors. "Sir, you need to see this," he reported to Earth Command. "The Vorthak didn't completely destroy every world they conquered. There are refugee populations scattered throughout their territory. This information would soon lead to humanity's next decision, whether to stay hidden in their solar system or take the fight directly to the Vorthak Empire to free the civilizations they had enslaved." Commander Junho Kim stood on the observation deck of Mars Defense Station Alpha, looking out at the red planet's surface. Somewhere out there, buried in the ancient dust, were the remains of 3,000 alien starships. The mighty Vorthak invasion fleet had been reduced to scrap metal and debris. "Sir," Operator Han Sol said, approaching with a data pad. "Earth. Command wants to know if Mars Defense is ready for Phase 5. Junho looked at the stars beyond Mars, knowing that somewhere out there was an entire galactic empire that didn't yet know they had just made the worst mistake in their history. "Tell Earth Command that Mars is ready," he said. "It's time to take this war to them." Admiral So Young Choi walked through the captured Vorthak flagship, examining alien technology that would soon serve humanity's purposes. The ship's communication systems were more advanced than anything humans had built, capable of sending messages across hundreds of light years instantly. "Dr. Lee, how long before we can use their communication network?" she asked. Dr. Min-Ho Lee looked up from the alien control panels he was studying. 6 hours, maybe less. Their quantum communication technology is actually simpler than ours. We can definitely send a message to their homeworld." "Good," So Young replied. "Prepare the transmission package. It's time the galaxy learned about humanity. What humanity was about to send would not be a threat or a demand for surrender. It would be something far more terrifying, a complete demonstration of human capabilities, broadcast to every world in the Vorthak Empire and beyond." President Young Hee. Shin stood in the Oval Office reviewing the message that would introduce humanity to galactic civilization. For centuries, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't, and it was time to make sure the galaxy understood exactly what kind of species had just joined the community. "Dr. Lee," she said over the secure communication link, "begin the transmission. Show them what happened. Here." The message that went out to the Vorthak homeworld was unlike anything in galactic history. Instead of the usual threats or demands that conquerors sent to their victims, humanity transmitted a complete technical analysis of the battle that had just ended. Every weapon system used to destroy the Vorthak fleet was described in perfect detail. The railgun platforms hidden in asteroid mining stations, the quantum disruption fields that had disabled alien power cores, the interdiction networks that prevented faster-than-light escape. All of it was explained with scientific precision that showed exactly how advanced human technology really was. But the technical specifications were just the beginning. The message included complete tactical analyses of every engagement, showing how human strategy had outmaneuvered Vorthak forces at every level. Fleet movements, pilot reactions, command decisions, everything was broken down to demonstrate the superiority of human military thinking. Most terrifyingly, the message included footage of the battles themselves. The Vorthak leadership watched in horror as their mighty invasion fleet was systematically destroyed by an enemy they had thought was primitive. 3,000 ships, reduced to debris without ever reaching Earth. On the Vorthak homeworld, Supreme, Admiral Kethmar stared at his communication screens in disbelief. "This is impossible. Our fleet was the most powerful force in the galaxy. How could primitives destroy it so completely?" His science advisor's hands shook as he reviewed the human technical data. "Supreme Admiral, their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their weapons, their tactics, their strategic planning. It's all beyond anything in our experience." The message continued with something that made the Vorthak leadership's blood run cold. Detailed star charts showing human exploration routes, with clear markings indicating every Vorthak world that humans had already identified. The message made it clear that humanity knew exactly where the alien empire was located. "We know where you live," the transmission stated simply. "We know the location of your homeworld, your colonies, your military bases, and your civilian populations. This information was obtained from your own navigation computers during our recent engagement." Captain Hyjin Park was leading humanity's newly constructed deep space fleet toward the edge of the solar system. Unlike the defensive ships that had fought the Vorthak invasion, these vessels were designed for interstellar warfare. Faster, more heavily armed and equipped with the latest human technology. "All ships, maintain formation," she ordered over the fleet communication system. "We're about to show the galaxy what human expansion looks like." The Deep Space Fleet was humanity's answer to the Vorthak Empire's threat. If aliens wanted to invade human space, humanity would take the war directly to alien space. The message being broadcast to the galaxy made this intention clear. "The Vorthak Empire attempted to conquer our homeworld," the transmission continued. "This attempt has failed completely. In response, humanity is now expanding our territorial claims to include all former Vorthak colonies and any civilizations that require liberation from alien oppression." Dr. Eugene Kang was monitoring communication networks throughout the galaxy, watching as news of humanity's victory spread to other alien civilizations. The reactions were exactly what human psychologists had predicted: fear, respect, and desperate attempts to avoid human attention. "The Zelkari Republic is requesting immediate diplomatic contact," she reported to Earth Command. "The Thranian Alliance wants to discuss trade agreements. The Corvani Federation is offering military assistance against the Vorthak." Within hours of the message being broadcast, dozens of alien civilizations were scrambling to establish friendly relations with humanity. The complete destruction of the Vorthak invasion fleet had sent a clear signal to the galaxy. Humans were not a species to be threatened or ignored, but some of the reactions were even more interesting. Intelligence intercepts showed that several alien empires were already beginning to debate whether humanity should be contacted, avoided, or somehow appeased before humans decided to expand in their direction. Commander Junho Kim received reports from deep space sensors showing unusual activity in nearby star systems. Alien fleets were moving away from the direction of Earth, while civilian ships were changing their trade routes to avoid human space entirely. "Sir," Operator Han Sol said excitedly, "we're detecting increased communication traffic in the Proxima Centauri system. It looks like the aliens there are evacuating their outposts." "Good," Junho replied. "Let them run. The galaxy is learning that there are consequences for threatening humanity." The most important part of humanity's message was saved for last. Using the complete intelligence gathered from captured Vorthak ships, the transmission included detailed information about every civilization the aliens had conquered or enslaved. "To the surviving populations of the 17 worlds conquered by the Vorthak Empire," the message announced, "humanity offers liberation and alliance. We have the locations of your refugee populations and the military strength to free your people from alien oppression." This was humanity's declaration that they weren't just defending themselves. They were taking on the role of galactic liberators. Any species oppressed by the Vorthak Empire would find human fleets coming to their aid, whether they asked for help or not. President Young-hee Shin watched from the Oval Office as response messages began arriving from across the galaxy. Some were from grateful refugee populations begging for human assistance. Others were from alien governments desperately trying to prove they had never threatened humanity. "Ma'am," her aide reported, "we're receiving over 300 diplomatic requests per hour. Every major civilization in this sector wants to establish contact. Schedule meetings with the grateful ones," Young-hee ordered. "Ignore the requests from anyone who supported the Vorthak Empire." Captain Hyo-sung Cho was leading the liberation fleets toward the first former Vorthak colony when he received an unexpected transmission. The alien refugees on the planet were broadcasting their thanks to humanity. along with detailed information about other Vorthak installations that needed to be destroyed. "Sir, the liberated populations want to join the Human Alliance," he reported to Earth Command. "They're offering to share their technology and provide intelligence about other hostile empires." This was exactly what human strategists had hoped for. By liberating oppressed civilizations, humanity was building a galactic alliance of grateful species who would serve as allies against future threats. Dr. Min-Ho Lee watched the galactic communication networks with satisfaction as humanity's message continued to spread. The destruction of the Vorthak invasion fleet had been broadcast to thousands of worlds, and the response was exactly what he had predicted. "The galaxy now knows that Earth is not a target," he reported to the global leadership. "We are the apex, predator that no one saw coming." The final scene of humanity's emergence as a galactic power took place on Mars, where Commander Jun-Ho Kim stood looking out at the red landscape that had become humanity's first line of defense. Scattered across the planet's surface were the debris fields from 3,000 Vorthak ships, a permanent reminder of what happened to species that threatened human civilization. "Sir," Operator Han Sol approached with the latest intelligence. "Reports: long-range sensors are detecting massive Vorthak fleet movements throughout their empire. It looks like they're pulling back from all frontier worlds." Jun-Ho smiled as he watched Earth rise over the Martian horizon. Humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy as the species that other civilizations should fear. The Vorthak Empire, which had conquered 17 worlds without significant resistance, had been completely destroyed before even reaching Mars. "Good," he said quietly. "Let them retreat. Let every alien civilization in the galaxy know that humanity is here, and we don't tolerate threats to our people." The age of human expansion had begun. The galaxy would never be the same.